Mercury in the UK is 11 years old, so we trade here as an electronic money institution. In Hong Kong, we're 7 years old, regulated there as well. And in South Africa, we are 3 years old, and again, regulated there. Our business is to make money move faster around the world for our clients at the lowest possible cost. So when we started to hear about blockchain technology, it wasn't a big leap of imagination to realize how perfect this evolutionary technology would fit with payments. That didn't take a great leap of imagination. And then it was really a case of looking around and saying, who's the best at doing this? And immediately Ripple came onto the radar screen, and that was the beginning of the engagement, which goes back about a year and a half. And since then, Ripple were very keen for us to trial the xRapid payment process, which we very gladly did. And we've had great success so far. We trialed several payments to Mexico, which were company funds we donated to a Mexican orphanage that actually takes kids off the street and teaches them how to surf, which is quite good. And then we did our first live commercial payments a couple of weeks ago. So we are now making payments for a UK corporate to Mexico to import Mexican food, and they are moving a lot faster than payments would go through SWIFT at a much lower cost. So we've already had the Mexican channel open up. It is live, it is being used, and I think actually today or tomorrow we're testing the Philippines with an eye to going live within the next week or so.
It's very, very impressive, isn't it? And through the use of this technology, you mentioned the orphanage and the surfing, and you've mentioned a real-world case around commercial flows into Mexico. How are the customers really kind of seeing a different payment experience first? What does it feel like for the exporter making a payment or the receiver in terms of ease and a difference compared to, dare I say, payments over SWIFT?
I think from a customer point of view, you almost don't want to show them too much of the technology or explain too much of why it's working as it is. I don't understand how a car works, but if it parks for me, that would be even better. And I think it's the same kind of thing. But what they are seeing is they are seeing payments arrive in 1/100th of the time, and they're paying a lot less, if anything, for it. And I think that's the key. So when you're looking at high volume payments for companies involved in import, export, or remittances, or whatever the case may be, when you start to look at the economics of how they stack in favor of a Ripple payment over xRapid, perhaps rather than SWIFT, the numbers are actually quite eye-watering. And in terms of the usability, the client is seeing an optimized outcome, so it's quicker and easier to make, and it's cheaper for sure, but there's nothing that they have to do in addition to what they were already doing to instruct it. We probably wouldn't have looked too hard, particularly at Mexico or the Philippines, given that they're not our normal payment channels. Certainly not the ones that we're traditionally good at with lots of clients in. So that's a great example of where Ripple came in and said, right, we can actually make payments much more efficiently to Mexico, the Philippines, and there's a bigger rollout plan here. And that actually opens up new markets for us that are immediately cost effective for us to get into. So that's very exciting, to become a sort of welcome member of a network that is expanding with Ripple's expertise with blockchain technology. Our kind of big plan is to ask Ripple very kindly to help us get to Japan in time for the Rugby World Cup. Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah.
And also thinking about it, you mentioned xRapid. I know we have many ways into this. We have xCurrent we're using with many banks around the world. What does xRapid give you that really made that difference?
I know that there's a lot said about democratization and the internet of value and these kinds of things, but I think the reality is that what we can achieve with Ripple is a genuine democratization of a payment network, because at the moment what we have is we have the SWIFT system, which everybody understands, its boundaries, its constraints, and effectively what we're doing is we are making banks into exchanges for payments. But where I think with xRapid there's a real opportunity is that there is the chance for anybody to join this network, and in that sense work perhaps with the banks and take a bit of the load off them. But there's no reason why, for example, two people couldn't be members of the xRapid network, and we wouldn't necessarily have to go through a clearing bank or more. which just makes the speed of transfer so much faster. And if that means that more people join the global economy and we get, an uplift out of poverty, and if we bring more countries into, trading with the rest of the world, that can only be a good opportunity as far as I see it.
Geographically for MercuryFX, where do you go next? Where's your focus geographically with Ripple?
We have plans for the Middle East. We have plans for Canada imminently. But I think the really exciting thing that xRapid and Ripple brings is it actually brings access to new markets that perhaps aren't actually accessible now.
And you're in production. We're not talking an experiment or a lab. There's no proof of concept. I've mentioned the P word, proof of concept, but you haven't. You're in production, aren't you?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the exciting thing. I think we've all been following crypto and blockchain for a long enough time to have sat through various ideas and big dreams. But I think that the exciting thing is that we are in production, as you say. So, the testing phases are behind us, and roll on. It's 2 countries today. It could be 10 before the middle of the year, and what stops it being any more than that? So yeah, it's a very exciting time, and we are, we're 100% behind Ripple, getting the job done.